similar to last week. Who do you think is going to score against the Panthers? Is it going to be Devontae Adams? Is it going to be Zamir White for the first time finally? Is it going to be Brock Bowers? Is it going to be all three of them? Because the Chargers were fine to win, by giving up 3 points and scoring barely over 20. I think they ended with 26, but they took the second half off. So a couple of things to consider. Maybe you look at first touchdown play for any of those guys, because if you do consider the first touchdown play, let me go to.
I kind of like Bowers.
Adams.
I like Bowers.
I do like Bowers as well. Bowers is at plus 270 or so. I went with Adams.
Okay. Well,
I went with Devontae because it is a little bit safer. It's still plus 160. I think Brock is a great pick as well. My thing with Devontae was what happened in the second half of last week, where, and if you look at the first half of that game, and it was nothing, right? It was him not getting, I believe he had like 3 targets in the first half. Second half comes out, ends with like 9 receptions, gets 10 targets in the second half, the 110 yards, the tutty there as well. I don't know how you can avoid that. The Panthers have given up 5 receiving touchdowns at this point to wide receivers in 2 games. There's nothing to say about them that's redeeming. So I went with Devontae for that reason.
What's the number you're getting on Devontae?
Plus 160. I thought I just had him up.
That's a saucy little play.
So plus 160
for Devontae Adams.
Yeah. See if it's still up there, so I'm not lying. Yeah, plus 160 is available on Caesars. You can still get plus 150 on FD, which I know everyone has, so I would still give that out. But that's got to be one of them. Zamir White, because they get rushing touchdowns, and he'll probably get one, and they want to give him one. I think you can put. I mean, if you parlay those dudes on the same team, you're going to get some negative correlation in your favor to help you out. So a parlay with 2 or 3, even a round robin maybe with all 3 of those dudes, Zamir White, Devontae, and Brock Bowers, I think is all good plays. Brock Bowers is a monster in college, and like 31.
He was the best player in this draft. I mean, there's no two ways about it. He just plays tight end, and they haven't had any problem figuring out ways to get him the ball. I'm a big Bowers guy.
It's a really good call, with Bowers. So final one here. It's not quite as sexy, and it's actually a little bit nasty, but it's Zach Charbonnet. Because Kenneth Skywalker is not looking like he's going to give it a go. Even if Kenneth played, Charbonnet would still be a good play, but minus 110 wouldn't be worth it. So I'm still taking it at minus 110 because I think when Kenneth is officially ruled out, we're going to see that drop even further, like 125. You don't give a starting running back against the Miami Dolphins line right now that good of odds to get a touchdown. So it's just that simple. They've shown a propensity to give him the ball in the red zone. And when Charbonnet's out, when Skywalker's out, he's the clear back. So
yeah, I'm with you. That's a great play. And it also, with him, it doesn't have to just strictly be a run thing. He can also catch the ball out of the backfield, third down, red zone, and guess who's in the end zone? So there's a lot of options there, especially with this Dolphins defense, which just wants to give up 25 yards plus. I mean, everybody shifts over to the left because you have trips to the left, and then suddenly Charbonnet is doing a little bit of a wheel out of the backfield and just wanders on in. Just wanders on in. I think that he's going to – how about this? Can I get any sort of action on Charbonnet scoring without being touched?
Unfortunately, no. But I think even like a first TD score, although Achane might even be a better play. Like they get one early and then that's it. But I don't know how they're going to move the ball down the field with Skylar Thompson. Like
the aggressiveness of first touchdown plays is too saucy for me.
It is very saucy and very aggressive. I don't have a parlay here. What I have is a show me the plus money. That's going to be that's what I'm substituting here. My plus money bet is going to be on George Kittle. I've hit 2 straight ladder plays this season, which is the reason that I'm 2 games under 500 with my picks, but over 2 units up. So I'm going to keep that trend going, which is apparently missing most of my negative odd bets and hitting these plus money bets. So George Kittle, take him on his core receiving yards over 50 or 51 and a half, depending on where you find it on your book. Receiving yards. The plus money play is laddering that core bet to 70 yards. So over 69 and a half. Nice. Receiving yards gets you 2-1 on Caesars, close to 2-1 everywhere else. So I'm not worried about if it's plus 190 or wherever you find it. But the thing that I love more than anything is when someone's out and you can look at what happens to the person who steps in and see if it's been, correctly updated in terms of the line. And George Kittle's line has not been updated. And so the thing that I would draw everyone's attention to start, first of all, on the season, he's at 5.5 receptions a game with 58 yards a game in 2 games. So, we know that he's capable of this with his averages. Short sample. But now you've got Debo out.
Right.
7 games in the last 3 seasons without Debo. 8 targets a game, 6 catches a game, 88 yards a game. Like he's a huge focal point. There's nobody who's in the middle of the field at this point. There's no CMC. You look at the last time they played the Rams, and he did not go over this number. It was last year in September. He only had 3 targets, caught all 3 for 30 yards. So I'm fine with my tight end having 10 yards a catch. Right. Then you've got Debo in that game with 9 targets and 6 receptions, plus 5 carries for 38 yards and a tutty, plus CMC with 20 rushing attempts and a tutty, plus CMC with 5 targets.
Right.
And it's like, well, yeah, everybody else is in the middle of the field except for George Kittle. That's not how it's going to be now, right? That's so, and you might even see him in the slot at some point if Juwan Jennings ends up on the outside a couple times. However they want it. Like Kyle has options at this point. Juwan Jennings don't sleep. So with all that said, the Rams give up 3rd most yards to tight ends. Yep. They are a shell of a football team right now, and they are picking up dudes literally off of their couches and putting them into their practice squad. So I just don't know why you wouldn't feel good about the Niners winning this game by more than a touchdown.
Yeah.
And I like the ladder play for Kittle.
It's a saucy line, but I love that ladder play for Kittle, especially let's add in this factor. Like, do you really trust Brandon Ayuk to step it up? I mean, there's no question he's going to get targets, but will he be able to consistently get open the way that he did last year? I don't even think that has anything to do with training camp or not being in football shape. I think that has everything to do with the fact that they don't have any weapons beside, Juwan Jennings doesn't separate. You throw the ball to him, but he gets it, right? Because he's like a tight end out there.
Yeah.
The only outside threat that they have on this team right now is Brandon Ayuk. So I think leading into my anytime touchdown plays, like I'm going to take Ayuk at plus 115.
All right.
Right.
Get into the tutty.
There's two viable. I mean, I guess they could throw it to Jennings, sure. But like, you're giving me plus money on a number 1 receiver against a team that will definitely get a touchdown in this game. I'm feeling pretty good about that situation because I'm feeling good about any sort of longest reception plays, longest rush plays for the 49ers. I think there's going to be yards in big chunks in this game. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if Ayuk gets a deep in route early, or just a deep route early, and is able to go over the top of the safety and get a long touchdown in the first quarter of this game. Now that's a little nuanced, but plus 115 there. I do have Hurts at plus 110.
Yeah.
For an anytime touchdown. I think that if we are talking about, adjustments, right? So like we're buying in on Shane Steichen to make adjustments because he's a good offensive coordinator. Yeah, the quarterback's, in a tricky spot, but like you trust that guy. What does Nick Sirianni know how to do? Like, what's the hallmark of Nick Sirianni? We're going to run the tush push, right? They've been thinking a lot about how do we make sure that Saquon looks good so that the Giants look bad. Like, how do we get Joe Shane fired? He's going to do that himself, boys. How about next time you get to the 1 yard line and you need a goddamn touchdown, you run the play that's unstoppable and go back to the tush push. So I think that the tush push at 110 for Jalen Hurts is a very viable play, particularly too when this is going to be a game where I think New Orleans puts up points and Hurts might have to even scramble from beyond a yard away to get into the end zone against this New Orleans defense. And then my final play, it's a bit bold, but I saw this happen in the Cleveland game last week, and I was a bit stunned because I'm a big Jerome Ford guy. But Deontay Foreman got 38% of the snaps and 14 carries against Jacksonville. He had 15 touches against Jacksonville. And this is some classic Deontay Foreman shit where he'll show up on a random team, have like 4 really good games, and then disappear forever. You're getting him at plus 150 to score a touchdown. He had 2 serious red zone carries in the first quarter of the game against Jacksonville. I think they trust him more with the ball than they do Ford. So plus 150 for a player who I'm pretty sure is going to be the red zone goal line back. Like, it feels like a pretty good odd situation, and it's not as if anyone's thinking that Cleveland's going to get shut out against the Giants.
Probably not. I would agree entirely. Like with Deonta, I mean, Jerome Ford might be there for the yards, but the usage rate and the opportunity share that Deonta Foreman had because of the fact that he wasn't he out-touched him. And he wasn't out there for nearly as much, right, as many plays. And they weren't losing. It was a neutral game for most of it. It was within 7 points for most of that game. And so that's always a good thing. This is going to be even more in his favor if it's a positive game script. So there's no reason to like keep Ford out there as he's a fine runner. But to your point,
like Ford a lot, but
once you get inside the 20, then you're good. So we've got Deonta Foreman, Jalen Hurts, and Brandon Ayuk, the 3 anytime touchdowns from Dietz. I've got 3 myself, and I am going with, I think we talked about one of these guys, but first one I'm going with is Kittle, so I can just get that out of the way. Kittle has 8 tutties. I actually want to see him for 2 tutties as well, because he has had in 8 of those games without Debo in the last 3 seasons. He's had 2 of them with 2 touchdowns. So he seems to have one of those a year. I believe he's had 1 per season over the last 3 seasons where he's had at least a 2 touchdown game. Yeah. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. This is 2023, but the 2 tutties that I was looking at real quick. Go ahead with what you're going to say.
Well, it's interesting too, because they were running some screens and stuff with Kittle against Minnesota. The way he got into the end zone against Minnesota wasn't, hey, Purdy's in the pocket, look around, go through your progressions. No, it was a design leak screen to George Kittle that worked. And by the way, wasn't blocked very well. Right. He just made the play happen. That's something that they're going to have to lean on near the red zone. Yeah. And I like the concept of 2. And what's the number we're getting there? Like plus 900,
plus 1,300.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you put $100 on that.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
I will, sir. I will threaten you with this good time. So I think this is a good 2 tutty play for this week as well, is George Kittle. Moving to the next one. Man, just